Good evening. Welcome to the Fort Wayne Community Schools 2018 Retirement Dinner. My name is Steve Corona and I serve as the Vice President of the school board, and we're so delighted to have you. I've been asked to not only welcome you but deliver invocation for you, but before that I have some advice for some of you retirees. Spouses, partners, pay attention. I know I've had a chance to talk to some of you. Not sure how the exit interview goes, but I know that some of you have been asked whether you might be open to the possibility of coming back, and that's great. We have a number of folks that do that. But for those of you who have decided that I've enjoyed my time with the district, a new chapter in my life, change your telephone number. And even if that number on call waiting looks like a 602 area code and you think it's Aunt May from Phoenix, or 317 and it's Uncle Bill from Indianapolis, it's not. It's Wendy Robinson. She has learned how to mask her phone call. And because you know it's her when you see that 467 exchange come up, right? And you don't answer those calls. But don't answer those calls that you think it's Aunt May or Uncle Bill from Phoenix or Indianapolis. It's Wendy Robinson. She needs somebody. She's going to give you that sweet voice. Hi, how are you? Can you work Monday? No, you don't want to work Monday. So anyway, change your phone number, or even better, move out of town. Bill and Nancy Sweet, they're going to Traverse City. She knows that. She's not going to call them. But anyway, for those of you who do want to come back, great. For those of you who don't, enjoy life. Okay, invocation. Lord, we come before you today to thank you for all the blessings that you have given us. We especially thank you for the many years of service that our guests have provided the students of our district. Many times our lives are so full of busy work that we neglect our relationship with you. For that, we are sorry. We know that you never neglect us, for if you did, our very lives would cease to be. We thank you for the many gifts you have bestowed on us. We appreciate the food before us, as well as the people that prepared and served our meals. Finally, dear Lord, be with the members of the 2018 FWCS retirees as they enter a new chapter in their lives and continue to do acts of goodwill, love, and caring that continue to please you. We love you, Lord. Amen.
All right. First of all, this is our first time here at this venue, so I hope you like it after we got the lighting put together. There are milestones in every school year, and for those of us who work in Fort Wayne Community Schools, this is one of them. It's called a retirement dinner, but I don't want you to listen to Steve Corona. It's just a brief separation, because there are still opportunities for those of you that love us. You get to rest for 6 months, and then Charles Kamek has applications here with him for you to restart. Penny Atkinson, North Transportation bus driver, 25 years of service. For more than 20 years, Penny was a dependable special needs bus driver with a contagious smile and pleasant spirit. She loved taking care of the special needs students assigned to her care. She showed respect to all people with whom she came in contact and took pride in her work. She is a pleasant and patient employee who loved to share with coworkers and students. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I think my experience that I would share is just the people that I met, the students that I got to know, and the students that I still have a relationship today from the job that I did.
Thank you so much. You can go down this way. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, you then go down these stairs. You can stand up here if you want, but it'll be quite a while. Jan Ball, Black Hawk Middle School, school nurse. 30 years of service. Jan has served 12 different FWCS schools, but she's been at Black Hawk the longest, 24 years. And still standing, and still smiling. She is the heart of the Health and Wellness Department and is magnificent at making everyone she encounters feel important and special. Jan loves middle school students. Oh, you are a rare person.
The color of my hair, but
I was going to say, middle school people, all the adults and the kids are just a different breed. They come to her as youngsters, and she supports them through the years and helps them get ready for high school. She is a creative and kind, and her colleagues love it when they receive one of her knitted items or crafts. Thank you so much.
thank you. Try to do this without crying. I just want to say that I've been very grateful to be able to work for the Health Services Department that has evolved into health and wellness services over this 30 years, to watch how it's become an integral part of our school community. And I know through the visions of all the people that have been at the head of the trough, so to speak, it will go far. And I thank you so much.
Thank you. Kay Beamer, Lincoln Elementary School, school nurse. 10 years of service. Notice they're all over there at the same two tables. That was designed. Kay has served at 9 different schools. She is currently at Lincoln and helps at Northrop High School when needed. She came to nursing late in life, but it is obviously her true calling. She has a heartfelt desire to help others and goes above and beyond to do just that. Kay will be remembered for being humbled and kind. She is very civic-minded and shares information about resources and fundraisers for worthy causes on a regular basis. Thank you, ma'am.
This has been my dream job, and such a privilege to work with the likes of all of you. Fort Wayne Community School employees are just A+ in my life, and what a privilege to work with the children of the families in Fort Wayne, and to serve the community of our district. What a privilege, and I am so grateful for that and for that opportunity. And I'm a product of Fort Wayne Community Schools.
Yay.
So.
Thank you. Warren Binkley, Northcrest Elementary School, 3rd grade teacher, 32 years of service. Warren, known to most as Bink, was able to find the humor in everyday situations. When he told tales of the school day, it was often with a sparkle in his eye and a smile on his face, and he usually brought the room to laughter by the end of the story. He could often be heard giving his students life lessons on paying bills, future employment, and being good citizens. He also could be counted on if you needed sports stats. Bink has a big heart and kind soul and will be remembered fondly at Northcrest. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll give you a hug like this.
I know.
We used to take kids to the downtown Y on an overnighter. Had a little boy that had a withered hand. They'd done numerous surgeries on his hand. And he came running around the corner one night, hit head on. Had the biggest goosebump I've ever seen. And he said this, "Mr. Binkley, I want to stay tonight. I don't want to go to the hospital." I said, "No, you're going to have to go to the hospital. You just can't stay here." Years later, I went to Northside High School and I saw that same little boy. He came up, gave me a hug with that withered hand. And he said, "Mr. Binkley, a lot of times they blame it on the teachers, but you guys do the best you can do." And I thought it was really neat that a young boy could differentiate that we really do try. And one thing I know all you people have done is you've championed the underdogs. And we don't have to be a teacher to do that either. Out in society, we can champion underdogs and kids that are hurting, and there's a whole slew of them out there. So I commend everybody in this room for what you've done. And 31 years, I don't want to say they went by fast. Teaching is a challenge, but you have big hearts, and it's been a pleasure and a privilege to work with my colleagues at Northcrest, at Adams School, and I worked at Southern Heights for a year. So thank you for giving me the opportunity, and many times people say, "He's a teacher?" Yes, I was a teacher. I was a Fort Wayne Community School kid. Went to Adams School, Blackhawk, Snyder, and I came back and I put my best foot forward, and I enjoyed preparing for the kids every day. And it's been a blessing, and I would like to thank all of you for what you've done.
Thank you. Jacqueline Butler, Forest Park Elementary, first grade teacher, 28 years of service. Jackie's greatest contribution to Forest Park Elementary is her tireless energy in providing effective instruction. A first grade teacher, you need a lot of it. An active member of the PTA, she was honored with a lifetime membership for her years of dedication and service. She created a recycling program at Forest Park and worked closely with Habitat for Humanity for years to provide affordable housing in our community. She also spearheaded a beautification program for Forest Park's outdoor campus, which included the planting of trees, flowers, shrubs. Her years of service, her dedication to education, and her sense of humor will be what Forest Park remembers about Jackie. Thank you.
You guys wait till you get up here. You're gonna start thinking, well, this maybe isn't what I should be doing. I shouldn't be quitting right now. Yeah, we should. My second grade teacher is who inspired me to become a teacher, and I've kept in touch with her. She's started homes for runaway children in Orlando, Florida. She's a pretty cool lady, and she's proud of me. She tried to hook me up with the guy I had a crush on in second grade, and that didn't work out. Anyway, it's been a real trip, beginning to end. I was never bored before I became a teacher, so I have a feeling I'm going to find plenty of things to do. No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jan Carr, Croninger Elementary School, fifth grade teacher. 46 years of service. Jan planned to retire 2 years ago, and her daughters even threw her a top-notch party. And then she decided she wasn't ready to give up the classroom. With the closing of Nebraska to become the Center for Academic Success, Jan opened a new chapter at Croninger. She had a joy of working with all her students and watching them become productive adults. Jan used lists to keep tabs on her students daily, and she has kept every grade book she ever used. All 46 of them, and I bet you know all the names of those kids in those, don't you?
I know a lot.
See? Thank you, Don. Thank you.
So I have my list. And when I think about 46 years, I remember one year one of my fellow teachers retired, and she had taught for 40 years, and I thought, that's a lifetime. And now I've got 46 years, and I'm like, it is a lifetime. It's it's a lifetime of thousands of students. And I started thinking back of how things have changed since I first started teaching. I'll try to keep this light, because I'm one of those teachers that cry on the last day of school when my kids leave. So I tried to make it funny so I wouldn't cry. But maybe this will sound familiar to a lot of you, and maybe some of you won't even know what I'm talking about. I know Wendy will know a lot of this. When I first began teaching, Mr. Greil was superintendent. Women were not allowed to wear slacks, let alone jeans. Lunches were still cooked in the elementary schools. Students were allowed to go home for lunch. Corporal punishment was used. There was still smoking in the teacher's lounge. Open concept classrooms were the rage. Then pretty soon they shelved that and they built walls, right? And when we were out for snow days, they were not made up. Some of you might have remembered the blizzard of '78. I do. I don't know how many days we missed that year, but we would, if it was like today, we would still be going to school through the summer, I'm sure. I remember giving a one achievement test in May at the end of the year. I remember we banned school after Labor Day. I remember when we had a spelling, a handwriting, a language, and a science book. And I remember taking my students to a weekly religious education class. I also remember when 5th grade students took instrumental music in elementary. And I think this one's going to date me. Does anyone remember collecting weekly money for student savings accounts through Lincoln National Bank? I thought that one's really old. Okay, and I remember teaching 6th grade when it was still in elementary. I remember when we had every morning that we could prepare for the day. I remember figuring grades without the help of a computer, how to use a mimeograph machine for making copies. And I don't know, does anybody remember ordering films and using the reel-to-reel projector and knowing how to splice those films? Kindergarten was only half day, writing out report cards on those yellow and pink papers that they gave us from downtown. Learning how to use our very first computers that had that green text on the screen. And I also remember these schools: Hoagland, Harmer, Hanna, Francis Slocum, South Calhoun, Franklin Middle. Any of those sound familiar? Okay, needless to say, I've started thinking about it. Things have changed for sure, and it makes me wonder what a retiring teacher in the year 2064, that would be 46 years, guys, 2064, will reminisce about. Will they talk about the good old days of Pinnacle? Satellite lunches? Using iPads? Teaching from a science kit? Using a document camera or a smart board? Or getting to wear jeans on Friday? So anyway, those were just a few things I just started thinking back, and I thought, gee, things really have changed. But I want to thank Fort Wayne Community Schools for letting me fulfill my dream to be a teacher, something I always wanted. And I want to thank all the principals that I've worked for, and there's been quite a few. And I want to thank them for letting me vent when I get frustrated, to celebrate when I had a victory, to be there for support and understanding, and they have all been great throughout the years. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Notice I stopped raising my hand. Jo Beth Chambers, continuing ed, HSE teacher, 40 years of service. Jo Beth has continually designed and implemented an organized, flexible, and welcoming high school equivalency intake and orientation process. That's a sentence and a half. Adult education students come from all types of backgrounds and have barriers to academic success multiple times in their life. This welcoming atmosphere helps them feel comfortable and see immediate success. Jo Beth took each new adult education student under her wing and gave them the motherly touch needed to gain academic success. She has created the blueprint for lasting student achievement and will be missed terribly.
When I started teaching in 1976, my first class were students with special emotional needs, and I walked in and I decorated my class, and my desk looked so nice, and I was so excited, couldn't wait. And the first little boy came into the class. He jumped up on my desk and he kicked everything off the floor, and he stood with his hands on his hips and said, "Lady, you can't make me do nothing." I knew then that I was in for an adventure, and it has been an adventure. After I came back from maternity leave, I came to continuing ed and started teaching adult ed. When they offered me the job, they asked, because I said I really need a half-time job for a little while, and they offered me a job in adult ed, and I was saying, what's that? I never heard of that. But I found my passion. I've absolutely loved it. I've worked with some wonderful people, and it's been an adventure the whole way through, and I'm ready for the next adventure. So thank you.
Deborah Clappy, Jefferson Middle School school nurse, 18 years of service. Deborah is known among the nurses for being the official chaplain. Kind and compassionate, she is the first to reach out and offer a helping hand to any student, staff member, or nurse in physical or emotional pain. Thank you. A student nurse for 18 years, she has served in 7 FWCS buildings and currently is a nurse at Jefferson Middle School, also helping at Snyder High School. Thank you, dear. Appreciate it.
I just want to reiterate what Jan Ball said about watching our health services department burgeon into this health and wellness center that is just, it's phenomenal. The opportunities and the prospects that come, it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful blessing to Fort Wayne Community Schools. But I think one thing that I will carry in my heart forever is being able to watch our babies come in kindergarten and be able to see them grow and develop into strong, capable 8th graders. I think that's just been the highlight of my existence, knowing that I was able to help them emotionally, physically, and sometimes spiritually. I'm grateful for that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret Maggie Dewey, Holland Elementary School Media Clerk, Instructional Assistant, 28 years of service. Maggie is always willing to do for others. She always has a kind word for her colleagues and is willing to go above and beyond for her students. Her meticulous work in the library, organizing and preparing books, helped bring about a joy and love for reading to all Holland students. They will always remember her read-alouds in the library. Thank you, ma'am.
Well, first of all, every year has been different, and since we only have 8 days of school left, today I had the final read-aloud with Mrs. Benjamin's kindergartners, and it was fun. And that's what library should be.
Sandra Murphy, Harrison Hill music teachers, 29 years of service. Sandy worked throughout her career to instill a love for music within her students, creating opportunities for students to experience music in many different ways. She had a unique ability to find every student's musical strength, and her programs were always a hit with families excited to see their students perform. Sandy will be remembered for her love of music, her students, and her colleagues. Thank you, darling.
Thank you. Excuse me for being a little slow. I had bilateral knee replacement, so I'm a little slow. When you love to learn, there's no better place than to be in education and share that love with the kids and learn from the kids too. And when you love to sing and play instruments, what better place to be in a music room to share that with the kids. It's just been wonderful, and thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
She was talking about moving slowly. We won't count the number of body parts we've had fixed in the years we've been here, okay? So you take your time. Claudia Fields, Southside High School Special Ed Assistant, 18 years of service. To work as a special ed assistant in the service room is a challenging and rewarding job that makes a kind-hearted person, that takes a kind-hearted person with a strong will. Claudia Fields did that job at Southside for 5 years before retiring. She started with FWCS in 1999 as an assistant at Jefferson Middle School, and over the course of her career with the district worked at Geyer, Northside, and Kikianga before Southside. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to say that learning never, ever stops. And when we do stop, then we know what's happened. I have continued to have just completed my Master of Science degree in Organizational Leadership, and I will continue in the PhD program. Thank you for the opportunity.
Stella Fikes, Nutrition Process Center Cafeteria Assistant, 10 years of service. Stella, and I figured out what this was, Stella can throw the cans with the best of them. That doesn't sound, it's not what it seems. In fact, better than people half her age. That doesn't matter what your age is. As part of her job, she had to open in excess of 1,000 cans of fruit and vegetables for a single meal. She is a genuine and genuine part of the Nutrition Process Center and always came to work with a great attitude, which affected those working around her. Her smile was infectious, and she never had a negative word to say about anything or anyone. Thank you, Mickey.
Thank you. I would like to say that thank God and giving Fort Wayne Community Schools give me an opportunity to work and serve the young kids of all the districts in the Fort Wayne Community Schools. And one thing I also would like to say, that some nights I should go home, the recipes, I remember them in my head, and some nights I should dream about them. So I said, I got to start leaving work at work, home at home. But I thank each and every, and I enjoy working with my coworkers out there, especially the supervisors, the one up in the main office. We had a ball when things was get tough back in the back. I just hold my head up and kept on going. So I thank you.
When we were talking, I was, unlike Mr. Corona, I was in recruiting people to come back and help. And she reminded me, Stella said that she had helped train the people that were going to take her place before she left. So I appreciate that. But she still can come back. Joy Forbes, Indian Village Elementary School, first grade teacher, 33 years of service. Joy was the rock of Indian Village's first grade team, leading by example and highly supportive of her teammates. Her unique ability to mentor, facilitate, and guide others in the mission and vision of our district and school is highly respected. Her passion for inspiring each student to achieve will be remembered, as well as her calm and poised demeanor that was always professional. Nothing could ever rattle her, even the most trying times. Joy was truly a master teacher. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful to Fort Wayne Community Schools for my 33 years of service. I started at South Wayne. I was there for 12 years, and then moved to Brentwood for 13 years, Then I moved to Forest Park, and then now Indian Village. I figured out recently that I've had about 775 students. I don't know that I remember every single one, but I'm sure I remember many. And I'm very grateful for the lifetime friends that I have made. Not only have I had some wonderful students, but I have made wonderful friends in every one of those schools, and that means a lot to me. Thank you.
Larry Gerardo, Fort Wayne Career Academy principal, 30 years. I tried to turn down his retirement, but our legal people said that wasn't right. Most educators work with students knowing that one day they will become doctors, nurses, engineers, programmers, auto mechanics. However, Larry Gerardo has been able to see that transformation every year. His leadership has left an indelible imprint on the Career Academy and the staff. Under his leadership, moral compass, and unwavering values, the Career Academy has become a viable partner and respected contributor to the growth of the city, state, and nation. He will be remembered at the Career Academy for his positive attitude, continued support, and laser focus on professional learning. In his quiet, unassuming way, he knows that when you hire the best and get out of their way, students become amazing young adults.
Well, when I thought about what I might say this evening, and lots of people have said this already, the thing that came to my mind was thank you. Thank you to Fort Wayne Community Schools. Thank you to Wendy and Faye. The support that I've received in the district really has impacted our programming, but it's really impacted me personally. I have grown so much in the 28 years I've been in Fort Wayne Community Schools. I've been in education 43, but this last 28 years has impacted me a great deal personally and professionally. I don't believe that if I would have chosen any other path, any other district, anywhere, that I would have grown myself and been grown like I have been grown here. This has absolutely been a wonderful experience. My colleagues that I've worked with, teachers, administrators, my secondary principal pals, office staffs, the Career Academy, teachers and staff, we've got 3 of those that will be coming up in a few minutes, have just been, had a huge impact on my life. And so I have had this wonderful opportunity to impact others and be impacted in this district. I'm very proud of, Wendy mentioned the Career Academy. This last 20 years, I'm very proud of the work that we've done at the Career Academy. We've impacted a lot of kids in a lot of special ways, and I believe it's ready to go for Mr. Webb, who's going to be taking my spot. And I guess finally, I'm just really proud that I'm actually retiring from Fort Wayne Community Schools. Not the retiring part, but that it's Fort Wayne Community Schools that I'm retiring from. I think that means a lot to me, and I think to others too as well. So thank you.
Thank you. It was a two-way street. I kind of chuckle when people talk about being mentored, because one of the things that is so important for me is everyone who works here has taught me something. And one of the things I hope I never forget is to listen, because some casual conversations, and most of you, as I've been in and out of kitchens and on buses and talked to you, you don't realize that when you say things to me, I never forget it. And some of the conversations we had in cabinet start when you tell me, you know, I don't know if you thought about. So that's important, and I appreciate it, Larry. Jeff Heaton, North Transportation bus driver, 16 years of service. Lovingly known as Coach. Jeff was a driver for special needs students who put the safety and rights of students above all else. His work ethic was fueled by years of experience. He will be remembered for his signature, never fear, Coach is here. Which he said anytime a coworker would address him as Coach. He enjoyed taking care of his special needs students by showing them patience, flexibility, and respect. He is known for helping people in any way he could. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you. Kind of a funny thing. Many times people in transportation would come up to me and they'd go, "Coach, what's your real name?" Coached football for 30 years before I drove. The first 2 years I started driving, I was still coaching up at Tri-State University. And I coached football, I think I said 30 years. Had 3 undefeated teams, 2 of them at Northwood Middle School. And that was fun. That's fun. Had a great time driving bus. Probably the best preparation I ever had for bus driving was being a middle school football coach. You never know what a 7th grade boy is going to do after school. You know what I mean? They do the dumbest things. You say, "Why did you do that?" And they answer you, "I don't know." And they're telling you the truth because they didn't think about the consequences of what might happen if they did that act. And so it was a good preparation for me for bus driving. I enjoyed working for FWCS.
Thank you. Marcia Huffman, Black Hawk Middle School math teacher, 18 years of service. Marcia has returned to Black Hawk since her retirement to volunteer her time helping with registration and folks at Black Hawk. She continues to help with the task of keeping them organized during this huge event. Registration is a big deal. While at Black Hawk, she organized for the first Black Hawk Comments Night, and that tradition has continued since she retired. Thank you, ma'am. Marcia.
Thank you so much. My connection with Fort Wayne Community Schools started when I was in 4th grade. I went to Merle J. Abbott. After that, I went to Harrison Hill, and I had Merle J. Abbott's daughter, Ann Gargett, as a teacher in middle school. And then I went to South Side, and I had many, many teachers there also. In fact, I'm very old, so we had our 50th class reunion, and George Davis was the chemistry teacher. And when we were in class, we had to keep track of all our lab work and our grades. And he brought everybody's card to the 50th reunion, and we got our cards back, which was really interesting. And just to let Steve Corona and Wendy know that I have been rehired by Fort Wayne Community Schools.
See?
That's right. It works. And it's really a good opportunity to share what you know with others. No matter how old you are, you can make a difference in a child's life. So thank you.
Now, just a word of caution. We don't use the word old. We're mature. We're mature people, but we don't use the O word, okay? Dorothy Jordan, Northrop High School attendance secretary, 14 years. I just saw, oh, there you are. Dorothy's unwavering love and compassion for Northrop students and staff will be remembered most. She didn't seek recognition, but cares for everybody wholeheartedly. Her greatest contribution has been her compassion for the students. Through her guidance, they have gained self-respect and encouragement. She has been able to run attendance with a grace that makes it seem easy, and is not. Thank you, Doc.
I'm going to say thanks, Fort Wayne Community School.
Step up.
Oh.
She's so soft-spoken.
Oh, okay. Thanks so much, Fort Wayne Community School. I'm transitioning from Elmhurst, and I met one of the students from Elmhurst about 2 weeks ago. He was one of the students, and he was a bad boy, okay? And he came up to me. He's standing about 6'7", 6'8", and he said, Miss Jordan, don't you remember me? I was the bad one at Elmhurst. and I could not remember him and stuff, and he kept on telling me and stuff, you know, you told me if you come to school on time and stuff, you gonna make a move in your life. And right now, he's working on the Fort Wayne Police Department, and he just graduated. Thank you.
I love it. I've been in this district longer than I want to talk about, and always kids will come up to me and say, don't you remember me? And I go, yes, sweetheart. You always say that, yes, sweetheart. And then the more they talk, their name comes out. It's a trick. Rhonda Kissling, Snyder High School school nurse, 15 years of service. Rhonda has been crowned the diabetic queen. Having once taken care of 6 diabetic students between 2 elementary schools. She has served 9 schools in her 15 years as a school nurse, most recently at Snyder High School. She is a trusted confidant to all, and is as concerned for the students as the staff. A true team player, Rhonda is always the first to volunteer to help others. She is described by her fellow nurses as the kindest of them all.
Thank you to Fort Wayne Community Schools for giving me the chance to be a school nurse. I've been a nurse for many, many years, and being a school nurse fulfilled my dreams, and I want to thank my fellow workers for teaching me so much and just giving the opportunity to share my life with the families and the students and staff and my fellow nurses, of which I could not be more proud to be part of. Thank you.
Terry Lauer, Indian Village Elementary School building coach, 24 years of service. Terry's ability to project the district's vision of professional learning for our teachers with a sense of humor, generosity, and integrity has been her greatest contribution to Indian Village. Terry's work as the building coach was precise and purposeful as she modeled the theme of every student every day. She will be remembered for seeing the lighter side of life and making work enjoyable for those around her. She always found a way to make learning fun for teachers. Her love and compassion for our students was unwavering, and thank you.
I started in college as a freshman as a pharmacy major because everybody knew you didn't make any money as a teacher. And then I went through my first physics class, and it cost me $360 to get out of that because I blew up so many beakers and burnt so many things. And my dad looked at me and said, pick a new major. So I picked elementary education because I love kids, and I'll never regret it. I have had the privilege for the last 10 years to be at Indian Village School with a phenomenal, hardworking staff and with my favorite principal, but don't ever tell him. Prior to that, I was a kindergarten teacher at Bloomingdale, and that, you just sang and danced every day. It was wonderful. And one former principal nearly had a heart attack because Dr. Robinson was doing a walkthrough one day with him, and she walked in my room, and we were doing the Macarena months of the year. And he looked at me like, oh, would you please switch to algebraic expressions or something with kindergartners instead of this? But instead, I looked and I said, Dr. Robinson, would you like to join us? She says, I would. And she set her purse down and just dove right in. That's my favorite memory of her, and the fact that she loves children as much as all of us do. And I'm just so proud to be a part of this district. Thank you.
She'll come back. Mary Marks, Haley Elementary School PE teacher, 37 years of service. Mary is an amazing woman and will be deeply missed by the entire Haley community. She is an extraordinary educator and her imprint on the lives of her students reaches far beyond the gym. It is not unusual to find students in her gym class jumping rope and learning math skills because they're connected. She will be remembered for her dedication to every student and her quiet but powerful leadership. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sit down, sir.
Well, what can you do when you have fun every day with kids? You get to come in and enjoy the whole day. Like today, I got to be outside, and everybody's like, I'm so jealous of you. And I really liked trying to incorporate social studies, math, language arts, along with gym. And the secret was, don't tell the kids that they're learning at the same time. And then when I have some teachers go like, how did our kids know how the compass rose worked? I learned it in gym class. And it was like, yeah, I must be doing something right. So I thank everybody. I've had a great time at Haley and other schools, and appreciate it all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
She'll be back too. Pat Marsh, FWCS Career Academy, Auto Building Secretary, 31 years of service. Pat's first 10 years with the district was at Price Elementary School. Hey. Don't tell any stories about what we did at Price. Who did? Thank you. For the past 21 years, she has provided support in the Career Academy Automotive Building. She always puts the needs of others first. She comes to work every day with a smile. Auto and welding students who often stop by the office counter window to visit her will miss Pat. She always takes the time to listen, encourage, and to dispense some advice. The little things often make a big difference, and Pat has made a difference. Thank you. Thank you, Donna.
Who knows where to start? I will start with how I started at Fort Wayne Community Schools, not as an employee, as a student. Elementary, Price. Middle school, Franklin. High school, Northside. My mother was a staunch supporter of children. I'm an only child, but she was a Girl Scout leader, and I would go on with different things that she did to help children, babysit, whatever. I spent most of my senior year in the guidance counselor's office at Northside. What am I going to do? I don't know what to do. I don't want a job. What do you mean job? I want to stay home with Mom and go to school. So I did waitressing, and I did, you know, the usual run-of-the-mill jobs. And then I fell into Fort Wayne Community Schools Anthus Career Center at that time. Now it's Career Education, of course, or Career Academy, excuse me. And I have never had a job that I thoroughly enjoyed like I do this one. I am going to miss everyone I ever worked with the school system. I love all of you. I love the children, students, I should say, because they're high school. They would be upset if I said children. Today, I was struggling with something on my computer, and one of my students helped me with that, which I was very grateful for. But you can't be out in a factory or another office and have a student come in and help you. I was thoroughly enjoyed having him as a student and the rest of the students, and I will miss it dearly. Thank you.
Linda Martin, Harrison Hill Elementary School interventionist, 31 years. It is obvious Linda loves working with children, and she never hesitates to make any moment of the day a teaching moment. She always has a smile and twinkle in her eye. A published children's book author, She has high expectations for the school's readers and is creative in finding ways to make sure all of her students succeed. Her passion for reading is evident, and her students see that and often and know each day will be an adventure. Thank you, Linda Martin.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, and what I would like to share is a story that just happened a couple weeks ago, or I don't even remember when it was. But I was out on the playground with some children, and they had a little girl that came up to me, and she's like, "Mrs. Martin, were the playgrounds like that in the 90s? I guess I've been doing this a little longer than I thought. And the reason I'm here, even though I've done many different things in Fort Wayne Community Schools, it's the children that bring me back. And no, I'm not coming back. Don't. Okay, I probably will. But it's the children that bring me back and the passion for them. And one thing that I love the most is when I'm walking through Walmart, "Mrs. Martin, Mrs. Martin." That's why I'll be back. And thank you.
Thank you. I didn't even have to tell her. Tim Martone, Brentwood Elementary School 5th grade teacher. I know it's difficult, but Tim and I actually are related because his mother thought she was my mother, and she really was. So we're related. 36 years of service. Tim is a family tradition. Year after year, this cornerstone of Brentwood has a class filled with children of his former students. He has always been committed to the success of Brentwood, no matter the challenge. Tim was always there with a "we got this" attitude. He will be remembered by staff and students for his giving spirit. Tim went above and beyond for everyone. Tim's presence in the building will be missed. Thank you, sir.
My mother, Patty Martone, most of you know who she was. She was a big part of FWCS, so growing up, I knew I was going to be a teacher in this district. And so when I got the first job, I went to South Wayne Elementary for a week, and Bill Worrell called me up and said, "Would you like to go back to Brentwood?" Because I had done my student teaching there. And the story that I want to share is that I am finishing at Brentwood after 36 years in the same classroom my student taught in. So did the whole full circle thing. My mother was wonderful, and to this day I can still go on Northside and see her name above the library and know through her the great things she did. And I knew I was going to be a teacher, and now my son and my future daughter-in-law and my wife were all teachers. But FWCS has meant so much to me, and I will miss it, so thank you.
He'll be back too. Deb McBride, Haley Elementary School Attendance Secretary, 29 years of service. Deb's personality, quick wit, and sense of humor were refreshing in the Haley office for thousands of students and is truly missed. While not the most tech-savvy person, that's okay. Just get a 10-year-old, they'll help you do it. She worked hard and was dedicated to FWCS. She began her career at Haley as a lunch assistant and worked her way up, serving as a special ed assistant before becoming a secretary. She is ingrained into the history of Haley. Her infectious laugh always warmed the hearts of everyone, and she loved a good carry-in. Me too. Especially dessert.
First of all, I'd like to thank Fort Wayne Community Schools for giving me the opportunity to be able to work with as many staff and wonderful people that I've met. My story is, when I was a secretary, I had a little drawer behind me. I kept chocolate in that drawer, candies, chocolate, crackers, cookies. Well, I'm gone and the drawer is empty. So I guess I'm going to have to make a donation. I'm going to have to drop something off. So that's it. Thank you.
Christina Major, Forest Park Elementary School first grade teacher, 17 years of service. Christina's unwavering commitment to providing effective reading instruction to her students so that each one of them would leave her classroom a confident reader has been her greatest contribution to Forest Park. She inspired young readers to develop a love for reading that would follow them throughout their educational experiences and beyond. She will always be remembered for her friendship, kindness, and compassion to others, and her willingness to help anyone in need. Thank you so much.
As a little girl, I always wanted to become a teacher, and I just want to thank Fort Wayne Community Schools and Wendy for this opportunity. I've met so many wonderful people. I have lots of friends that I will never forget. I am embarking on a retirement journey to the last frontier, where I hope to be a substitute teacher. Unfortunately, I will be out of this state. So thank you all.
When you come back to visit, we can do temporary kinds of things. Keep your skills sharp. Denise Moore, Harrison Hill Elementary Secretary, 23 years of service. Whether it has been a parent question, staff request for supplies, or student needing some extra attention, Denise was always there and would help with a caring attitude and a genuine smile. She was a staple in the Harrison Hill office for 21 years and demonstrated an absolute dedication to the school staff, parents, and children. She will be remembered for her wonderful sense of humor and her laughter that always brightened the room. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you so much. I have many memories that I will take with me wherever I go. Those who've come as little kids in kindergarten, or those who've been the first-year teachers who needed everything. It's been amazing how many kids come in the door on first day of school that don't know anything. I've been called the principal, you lady, a teacher, but all in all, I appreciate every one of them that they gave me a helping hand and a smile. I loved Harrison Hill. It will always be known as Harry Hill, and we appreciate one another. We have a camaraderie there that you can't find in a lot of places, but we love each other, we work together, and we strive together. If I had it, you had it. If you needed it, we shared. It was an atmosphere that I will always treasure, and for that I say to Fort Wayne Community Schools, thank you.
Thank you. You know, a lot of people have very negative impressions about public education, and a lot of people in this community have no idea what we do in the Fort Wayne Community Schools. I'm going to send them all an invitation to watch this, because this is why we're good, is because of people who have that attitude. Deb Riker, Northrop High School Guidance Secretary, 30 years of service. Deb is a dedicated person who has worked tirelessly to make sure the guidance department at Northrop is organized and streamlined. One of her greatest contributions has been her willingness to see a student in need or at a time of crisis. She has always spent a great deal of time helping students refine their college and scholarship applications, answering questions and giving advice on future goals. She will be remembered for her wit and humor and her fantastic organizational skills and political debates.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I guess the first person I want to thank is my husband. Nobody's done that yet. I was fortunate enough in my marriage to stay home with my kids for 16 years. So my beginning in Fort Wayne Community Schools was as what I call a professional volunteer. I became involved in Fort Wayne Community Schools through our outstanding PTAs. I served with Wendy on Fort Wayne PTA Council. I made some of the best friends of my life in PTA. I served president of St. Joe Central, Jefferson, and Northrop High School. And quite honestly, I got my beginnings in each job as a lunch lady at St. Joe Central, as a student services secretary for 4 weeks at Jefferson Middle School. And then Sharon Banks asked me to come to Northrop. And it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. And my husband and I talked about it. I said, if I go back to work full time, we're really going to have to pitch in together and take care of 3 kids within, they're 5 years apart. I had to have some kind of an outlet. You understand that. I stay home 16 years. But I guess the most rewarding part of my travels through Fort Wayne Community Schools has been, a lot of people don't believe this, I was a very shy person when I started out. And we as educators, and I consider myself an educator without a college degree, we form our students to be the best that they can be. But quite honestly, Fort Wayne Community Schools formed me to be the best that I could be. And I see kids come to me, come back every day to get transcripts because they go on new journeys in their lives. And they struggled, and they come back, and they're so thankful for what you helped them with. That's the most rewarding part of my job, that they come back and say thank you. I didn't think I wanted to come back.
You will, don't worry about it.
But I just want to say thank you. I see so many familiar faces, and you all mean so much. Thank you.
Faye Robbins, raise your hand, Faye. She's working to get alumni clubs started and have one big alumni association, and when she gets it together, we're gonna have a big party. But next year. But one of the things I think we need to do is to have an alumni of retired people. Because see, then we can just do the applications there at whatever gala we have, and we don't have to hunt people down. Faye and I will work on that. Patty Ritter, Irwin Elementary School 2nd grade teacher. 28 years of service. Patty has been a solid staffer, holding the emotional safety of her students as high as her academic expectations. She is a critical thinker and is thoughtful and deliberate in her work with her class, in QIT, and the building culture. Her mindfulness with her students has really helped them to self-regulate. Her thoughtfulness and quiet humor will be missed. Thank you, dear.
Well, I've been at Irwin almost the entire time. I took a couple of years and did some building coaching at Tolles, and then I came back to finish my career at Irwin as a 2nd grade teacher. And I'll tell you, after teaching 4th grade and 3rd grade, 2nd graders have a lot more funny little stories and things that they can have you tell about them. So I was going to share a cute little story about one of my little guys who was staring at me with giant eyes. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm lasering you with my eyes." And so I was a little bit alarmed. I said, "Oh, don't do that, don't do that." And he just said, "Doing it." So that's one of the memories that I'll take with me among a bunch of different stories about a bunch of different kids. I want to thank all of my principals that I've worked for. They've been great. They've been helping me grow and helping me, but also giving me freedom to grow. And I just want to thank Fort Wayne Community Schools for a great 28 years.
Taking care of himself too, which is amazing. We were talking about one of my grandsons. Sharon Scroggum, Bill C. Anthus Center Building Secretary. 45 years of service. Sharon is the same dedicated, helpful, knowledgeable, hardworking person every single day. For 35 years, she's been the hub for information and coordination for custodial services, security officers, room scheduling, keys, parking tags, renovation work, and lost superintendents.
I didn't remember that.
Every time you take care of me. She has coordinated coats for kids, organized luncheons, and made decorations for special events. And she has been a key contributor in creating a wonderful culture of caring and collaboration. Anyone who encounters Sharon is positively affected by her willingness to listen and help. Thank you so much.
I'll keep this kind of short. I'm married to an ADD police officer who brings me to work when it's snowy and icy. He says, "Oh, that'll be fun." It's okay. So thank you to everybody. I'm not getting shaky, and I don't usually do that. I'm very proud to be a Fort Wayne Community School person, and I'm very proud to be leaving, and with everything I have, and you've helped me buy a business. I have a gift shop. You've helped me to learn what to do, how to do it. Thank you very much.
Diana Scruggs, Portage Middle School Media Clerk Assistant, 13 years of service. Whether it was selling concessions or taking tickets at athletic events or covering the ISS room so the supervisor could eat lunch, Diana was always willing to help in areas outside the media center. Whether she was arriving for the day or leaving, Diana always had a smile, that's true, on her face, and always offered up a "have a good day." Thank you, Diana.
What can I say? I've enjoyed my time with Fort Wayne Community Schools, especially at Portage Middle School. It's bittersweet because when you first start in August, it's like you see all the new sixth graders coming through, all the kids that left elementary and think that they're grown. And then you have the ones that cling to you, just like I have 3 special kids right now that it's really hard to leave them. This has really been bittersweet for me because the last 3 years, each year I've said I'm retiring, and each year I go back. Well, in August of this year, when I went to Portage, I said, I'm retiring this year. Of course, nobody believed me, but I was confident that that was what I was going to do. One thing that I do leave with the Media Center, and that's in the books. I will really miss the books because new books come in all the time. And if I can remember this quote, it's the more you read, the more you'll know. The more you know, the more places you'll go. Thank you.
We'll just call you when the new books come in. Steve Smothers, Facilities Energy Management Coordinator, 34 years. Steve's greatest contribution to FWCS was implementing the FWCS Energy Leadership Program. And we lived in fear for not getting the right color sign because we left our computer on or off. The superintendent lived in fear of getting the wrong color little tag. I'm sorry.
We got you there, though.
I know, I'm better. I'm getting the green ones now. Working with employees to save the district more than $5 million since the 2012 implementation of the program. He will be remembered most for his dedication not only to the Energy Leadership Program, but to the district and all the students he had in industrial arts as a teacher at Northside High School. And he still has all 10 of his fingers. Oh, that's just wrong. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
So I was really only in energy leadership for the last 6 years of my career. I would oftentimes be referred to as the energy czar. And I would ask people politely not to call me that because it made me sound way more important than I really was. But I am very thankful for Fort Wayne Community Schools, and I've come to appreciate over my 34 years in the district what an outstanding group of people make up Fort Wayne Community Schools. I've been doing a lot of reflecting, and I think it's important to look back on how you got to where you are. I grew up in the West Central neighborhood, over by the General Electric plant. A group of churches in that community put together what was called the West Central Ministries at that time, and provided programs for the youth in the neighborhood. I participated in those programs. And then the Reverend Bill Moody, God rest his soul, saw something in me and asked me as a teenager to volunteer with some of the younger kids in the neighborhood. And looking back, that's clearly in my mind what guided me down the path to becoming an educator. I really enjoyed my time doing that. I appreciated the rewards that you got from helping other people, and that's really where I learned that. I went to Washington Elementary, Fairfield Junior High School, Southside High School, so I had a great experience in all those places. After getting out of college, I knew I wanted to be in an inner city school, and I had an interview at Northside. This is kind of a funny and yet faithful story. I had an interview with Dan Howe, who was the principal at Northside at that time. I really wanted to be there. Little did I know he really wanted to get somebody in my position. So I go into the interview, and he's essentially recruiting me to Northside. And he brought me over to a map in his office, and he's kind of bragging about Northside and how well they were doing. And he pointed out on the map how they were kind of losing this neighborhood over here, and that was going to a different school, and they were picking up this more affluent neighborhood over here. Well, guess where that neighborhood was that they were losing? That was the West Central neighborhood. And I knew right at that moment that I was where I needed to be. And I had a wonderful, I teased Dan about that story quite a few times. He had no idea, obviously, that I lived in that neighborhood. But I knew that's where I wanted to be. I had a wonderful career there. It's kind of funny looking back. If I could have lasted 2 more years there, I could have been a legend. My only regret. So I want to make sure I show appreciation to Kathy Friend and Darren Hess for giving me the opportunity to come work at facilities after I left Northside. I don't think as a teacher you really fully appreciate the complexity of running a school district the size of Fort Wayne. And I got to see that firsthand in my 6 years in the facilities department. Even in my new career now, I work with school districts around the state and the Midwest. And I only become more impressed every day with how well run Fort Wayne Community Schools. I have no reason to butter up. That's just a true statement. Fort Wayne Community Schools is really an outlier when you hear some of the negative things you hear about public schools. So I'm very proud to be from Fort Wayne Community Schools and cherish the time I had. And I appreciate all my coworkers, especially at this point, all the support people. There's been a lot of support people here tonight who work behind the scenes to allow us teachers to do what we do in our classrooms. So thank you to all of you as well.
Thank you. Phil Downs, who's the superintendent in Southwest, he and I are good friends. And when we changed the name of Northside, there were people very unhappy. The first person to text me was Phil Downs, who said, "Yes, you just made me a legend." And so when he calls or texts me, he always signs off, "The legend." So you can use it too if you want to. Peggy Williams, Northrop High School PE teacher, 42 years of service. Peggy always has a smile to share and time for her students. Peggy is known for her responses to questions and comments such as, "I teach PE, not gym. Gym is a place. Physical education is a curriculum." She worked for Northrop and FWCS with her whole heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say that. Okay, I am a Fort Wayne Community Schools product. Went to Hannah School, Smart School when they changed the district. And I went to Weiser and I graduated from Southside High School. I did my student teaching at Shawnee Middle School for 27 years. I did my student teaching and then I was there for 27 years. And then they decided to move me. So I said, I'm going to high school. It took me 30 days to get all my stuff out. My brother said, why did it take you 30 days? I said, because I looked through stuff, I cried, looked through stuff, I cried. And people in the office would say, we know you're down there, and then they would come down. And so now it's been 14 years at Northrop, and I don't know how long it's going to take me to get my stuff out of there. But I will. I've coached gymnastics, which I knew nothing about. When I came with the job, I did get a vault champion out of that. I coached volleyball, which I knew nothing about, but I ended up getting a couple championships out of that. I did know about track. Got a couple championships out of that. I coached pom-poms. I was over the Black Heritage Club, and I was also over Project SET, which is student exploratory teaching. I married a teacher, my husband, Joe Williams. He taught elementary, and he just loved that elementary. I tried to get him to come up, but he never did before he left the system. My daughter is a sub now. My son is an adjunct professor. So it's in there. They didn't want to do that. My son came to school with me one day, and he went home and said, Zuri, Mama does nothing. But it's been a long run. It's like my sister said, it's bittersweet. Leaving the kids, I haven't really told them. Some of them said they've heard rumors that I was leaving. I said, don't pay any attention to the rumors. They told me I was not old enough to retire. I know. I said, so how old do you think I am? And they said 34. I said, thank you. And somebody said, no, her daughter, she has a daughter. I said, how old is my daughter? She said, she's 21. So I said, well, thank you. I said, but I'll be 65 on Monday. It's time to hang up the keys and stop blowing the whistle. And one thing I always share with the kids, because they have some issues, I say it's not where you start, it's but where you finish. So some people go on the straight and narrow, and then some people have to take the curve. So thank you.
She said, I'm not coming back. Yeah. Luann Stone, Indian Village Elementary, third grade teacher. 20 years of service. Luann is a person of remarkable courage and inner strength with a wonderful sense of humor and a way to make you feel important, whether you're a staff, student, or parent. Her loving, caring, compassionate spirit for her students was on display daily, and she instilled in her students a passion to learn that made them want to return to class each day. She really knew her students and what they needed to be successful.
I would just like to thank Fort Wayne Community Schools for the opportunity to be here. I've had a great 20 years, had fun with the kids, loved the kids, welcome them in every day. It was very, very fun. Most grateful for my time at Indian Village, especially the last 3 years. They shown me and my family great compassion, and it meant the world to me. So thank you to Indian Village and Fort Wayne.
You can go any way you want to go. Diana Swally, Southside High School Athletics Secretary, 12 years of service. Diana is remembered at Southside for her great sense of humor. Notice everybody says humor, because you know if you don't laugh in this job, you cry. Ability to soothe anxieties and to be of service to others. Her dependability and ability to perform her duties with pride and competence was among her greatest attributes in the athletic department and in the school. Thank you.
Thank you. When I first came to Fort Wayne Community, I worked in the department downtown, the HR department, for recruitment and hiring, and I did a lot of pre-employments for the certified teachers or the principals, and I really enjoyed meeting a lot of those people as they came in. I really appreciated that. Then I was gone from downtown, and I got picked up by Southside, which gave me great pleasure because that gave me the tenure that I needed for my retirement, and I really appreciated the fact that Southside let me come as their athletic secretary. I got to know a lot of people that way, And I really appreciate Fort Wayne community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Deb Thomas, Fort Wayne FWCS Career Academy. See, I'm struggling with it too. Principal Secretary, 27 years of service. Deb has been an important part of FWCS for 27 years, 26 of those at the Career Academy. There she contributed to the success of the school by developing great relationships with subs. It was rare for the academy to not have a full staff. Deb was a master at guiding teachers through licensing renewals. If you need somebody, you got to get them licensed. She did a great job imparting her knowledge to her replacement. Deb will be remembered for her willingness to drop everything to help a student or staff member. She rallied staff when someone needed support, collecting donations or providing cards. And she made it her mission to know each student with special attention to the special education work skill students. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to say a whole lot. I've cried many times in Larry's office, Wendy's office. I had a great job. I love Fort Wayne community. And now I have lifelong friends. Thank you.
We met each other bonding over her son, Corey. And don't believe any of her stories because they're not true about Price, right, Deb? Thank you. Leanne Thompson, Snyder High School, Assistant Principal, 30 years of service. Leanne's calming spirit and wisdom gave her the unique ability to reach the most challenging students. Her greatest contribution to Snyder has been continuing and expanding the Snyder Tutor Program with neighboring feeder schools. She has helped to shape and cultivate future teachers through this educational program. Thank you.
Well, that was a surprise to me. I didn't know I was next. Okay, now I want to first say thank you to my husband. He's listened to my stories every night at dinner for 30+ years, patiently, and I appreciate it. So I'm fresh out of stories. Anyway, I've been with Fort Wayne Community Schools, don't do the math, since 1960 when I was 5 years old and went to McCulloch School. And been here ever since. Harmer School, I have a memory of Miss Cox and religious ed in the trailer. Yes. And I still remember scriptures, bless her heart. And Fort Wayne Community Schools, I'm glad we adopted the slogan, family, because we are. Anytime you have to say good, not have to, but say good morning to the same people in your building every day. You work on problems together, and you celebrate together. That's family. So thanks to all the people that I've worked with, Dr. Robinson, Faye, for being there for me. Above all, God, for strengthening me when times are tough. I'm emotional. Now, on to the fun. What I'll miss, I will say my Bruin sisters, Zuri from Northrop, my alma mater. I graduated from there. I will miss the proms. I have always done a cha-cha slide. I did it a couple weeks ago. My knee was screaming. The next morning, I volunteered to work the prom next year. Snyder says they're holding me to it, so I'll probably be there. Trying to do the cha-cha slide again, maybe not in heels, but in flats. So I loved working with all of you, and I wish you all the best adventures for the rest of your lives. Thank you.
She'll be back. Pat Thompson, Snyder High School, Main Office Secretary, 16 years of service. Pat is very much missed. At Snyder, the staff knew no one got into the building with an official without an official Pat Thompson clearance. And because of that, they all felt safer. She was a team player and would do anything to help out. She meticulously took care of many of the details related to awards programs and graduation and made sure every senior turned in necessary items for a successful graduation day. Pat was persistent about getting everything done just right and ahead of time. It was a joy working with Pat and getting to know her. Thank you, ma'am.
Well, had I known I was going to do this, I would not have spilled chocolate cake on my pants to start with. But I am also a product of Fort Wayne Community Schools. My husband and I are proud Archers, and then I became a proud Panther, and I loved my job 95% of the time. And I miss it. And unfortunately, I can't stay away, so I'm subbing now and enjoying it quite a bit. I particularly am enjoying the libraries. So my husband went to SMART, and then we went to Weiser Park. So all I hear is, I was smart, and now I've got Weiser. So I have to go to work, because I can't listen to that all day.
See, she's already back. Barb Trout. Her nickname is My Barb. My mom passed away 2 years ago, this December, and there were two names my mom had for Barb, because Barb and I have been together. It says here 30 years of service. We've probably been together 30 years. And to my mom, she was her Barb and my redhead. So Krista wrote something, and she said it wouldn't really matter because I wasn't going to read it, but I'm going to read it since you took the time to write it. Barb started as a PTA mom at Weiser Park Elementary. We were there together. The school her children attended. Before taking a paying position at Croninger, she moved to central office, where she quickly became my right and my left hand. I always tell people it takes a village to raise a superintendent. That's true. And Barb was the queen of that village. We miss her baking birthdays, holidays. I had to go buy a cake.
Oh, no. Just call me.
I know. Her stories of her travels and grandkids. Two things that have already filled her days since she retired in November is the travel and her grandbabies. We miss her, but we're happy. And when I talk to Barb, the few times I get to, because she's never in the country, I wish for each of you what Barb has, just that absolute contentment. And while she's standing here, I'm going to say, we just don't say goodbye to people when they leave. We say, see you. Because even if we don't see people again, goodbye means that it's kind of over, and we just don't do that. So I used to tease people and say I was afraid of Barb. And I said that because Barb wanted me to be successful, and she made sure that anything I needed to do and anybody that came in contact with me had that same commitment. So I cannot tell you how much I appreciate her. We didn't say goodbye, we just said see ya. So I'll stop talking now so that we don't start babbling and crying. Barb Trout.
Thank you, thank you. As Wendy said, I started my career as a 3-hour assistant at Weiser Park after our youngest daughter went to first grade. And I ended up as her assistant and her friend. I count her as a friend. I have been retired for 6 months, and yes, I will be back.
I know.
I do miss my friends and coworkers. That's obviously one of the best things. They're just the best. And I wanted to thank my husband too. He was retired for about 8 years before I retired. And he got up every morning with me and made breakfast, and he made my lunch. And that was great. So I thank Dr. Robinson and all the people I've worked with. It's been wonderful. It's been great for us. Thank you.
She's coming back. Ladies, we're also going to have Wayne Trout teach a course, What to Do When Your Wife Retires. You know, the getting up in the morning, the fixing the breakfast. We're going to have Wayne teach that course. He's been trying to work with my husband, but it hasn't taken yet, so he still has work to do. Thank you. Teresa Von Drum, Lincoln Elementary School school assistant, 21 years of service. Teresa is truly a Lincoln lion. That's what they said. She has touched the lives of many students throughout her 21 years at Lincoln, and her commitment to the success of students is evident in the patience and care she takes with each child. She will be remembered for her dedication to the children of FWCS, her sense of humor, and the enduring relationships he has made with many of the Lincoln staff and students. Do you bake?
No.
Oh.
Nothing.
Did you see how she said that?
No. All 21 years I've been at Lincoln. Both my daughters went through Lincoln, and I started there when my youngest started first grade. And I think probably one of the best things about working at Lincoln is all the co-workers. I've made a lot of really good friends, and I'm sure that'll continue after retirement. Thank you.
Darlene Yarnell. School nurse coordinator, 31 years of service. Darlene is best known for her tremendous heart and compassion. Oh, come on up here. She is an advocate for nurses and the children of Fort Wayne Community Schools, and you're not to tell any of the stories about Price. She is a school nurse leader who has served as a nurse for 24 FWCS schools, most recently at the Career Academy at Anthus. She was a charter member of the Nurses Association and served many years as president. She helped lay the groundwork for a new nursing leadership position at FWCS and has served in that role for the past 2 years. Thank you so much, Darlene. Come on.
That sounds way more impressive than I really deserve, but thank you very much. I am so, so grateful and blessed that I have been part of this school corporation also. When I started, there were 10 school nurses, and we all had at least 6 schools, and now there are 30+ nurses, and I am so proud that I've been part of that evolution. I really think nurses are very, very important as support people to the education system. I couldn't be prouder of the group of nurses who serve all of you and this corporation, and I hope it will continue to expand as time goes on, because we do a lot more than Band-Aids and bugs, and it's getting, as you know, it gets more and more involved every year. I do want to leave you with one more health lesson as a reminder of your universal precautions that I've taught many of you in many schools over the years. I want you to remember, if it's wet and it's not yours, don't touch it. Thank you.
I worked with her. I was a new principal trying to do the right thing. They gave me Darlene. And anything that I did that was not appropriate the first year of my principal life, her responsibility. Susan Zimmerman, purchasing textbook rental, inventory specialist, 28 years of service. Susan was a key player in the development and implementation of many of the current textbook accountability procedures. She helped save the district thousands of dollars by ensuring textbooks were accounted for at each location. When requests were made for additional textbooks, Susan checked to be sure the requests were appropriate and actually needed. Her attention to detail was probably considered annoying to everybody but me. I thought it was phenomenal. To those being questioned, but a virtue to the business office and the superintendent, Susan was a kind and dedicated employee who rarely missed a day. She was self-motivated and accomplished her work at a high level. Thank you, guys.
As the last one to speak this evening, I'm going to take a couple liberties. Number one, this is an awesome group. And as I look out, I realize many bonds that I have built over the years are represented here tonight. I could always call Harrison Hill and say, Denise, help me out. And she'd tell me who I needed to talk to or what I needed to do. Patty Ritter and I started in the same classroom at Glenwood Park. I was a classroom assistant. Patty came in as a student teacher. Max and I attended Patty and Terry's wedding. So then we both ended up at Irwin for a few years together, and that was a special bond. I could go on. I've met and crossed paths many times with Darlene. I was very flattered when Pat from Snyder called one summer and said, do you need any help? Just what do you do out there in the warehouse? And that, you know, there were just many happy memories and very flattering things. So very special bonds, and I know you're all feeling that too. My career with FWCS, I had to think about a little bit, and I decided we do a lot of evaluation, and report cards are important, district cards, balance scorecards. So I started thinking about my career. And I have to say, it probably is best represented with an F. After all, I failed to retire when I was 55. I failed to retire when I was 62. I failed to retire when I was 65. And I'm not going on. But I did fail to count the number of days I had left to work until January 12th when I actually did retire. The F factor continues. Looking back, it was my faith, my family, my friends. It was my FWCS career that have dominated my life. I was fortunate to see FWCS from all sides. As a student teacher at Snyder, a long time ago, as a parent of 2 Snyder grads, as an FWCS employee, and even as the wife of an FWCS employee. So you see, I have seen all facets of this district. For me, retiring is almost like giving up food. Now, we are latching, that was an F word. We are latching on to another F. By this time next month, my husband and I will be Florida residents. I will miss being a part of this fabulous organization, and my career here has been indeed phenomenal. Thank you.
I couldn't have wrapped it up any better. Chris is going to send out a press release either today or tomorrow that highlights the fact that we have 113 retirees and over 3,000 years of combined service. And when you stop and think about that, one of the things that when I travel around the country, people are just amazed at how long people stay here. And one of the things that I am well aware of is for all of the things we try to do to organize and to make sure that we are well run, the reason people come to work is the same reason I come every single day. It's the people. We could have the best systems in the world, and if we didn't have the dedication and the commitment and just people who really, no matter how hard it gets, people in this district figure out a way to do it. And so tonight when I was walking around, I can just kind of remember times that I've bumped into and had opportunities to have each one of you have a part of my life and my growth here. And I just want to thank you for coming tonight, because you could have been any place else, but you came and add to that family. You said family several times, Susan, one of the F words. So I hope you've enjoyed yourself. Take a little time to say hello to people that you have run into and not had an opportunity to speak to tonight. I want to thank Mel and her department. Where'd she go, Joyce? Joyce, who organized everything, so thank you very much. Krista, and everybody that made this evening possible. So be careful on the way home. Remember, applications are online. You have to take 6 months. Some of you have already reached the 6-month plateau. So have a good evening, and thank you for being here tonight.